Hey, I'm Rick, and on today's video, we're going to talk about how to make resizable, draggable windows that look like this. So when I move my mouse, I can drag them around, something like this, brings the window to the fore as well. And if I go in the corner, I can make these bigger and smaller and exactly what I want it to be. So we're going to use a little bit of JavaScript to do this. It's pretty straightforward, actually. So we'll talk about how we make draggable, resizable windows. So firstly, let's talk through the code that we have already. So on screen at the moment, I have some HTML, which I've already pre-written, and there's some styles with this as well. So at the moment, if I refresh, this is just set up as I want, but nothing happens when I move. I can't click anything, I can't drag anything, but it's set up kind of what we want from a style perspective. So let's have a look at this. Firstly, we have our header tag, which is just the text in the corner up here. Then we have 5 different panes. Each pane has its own set style of a left and a top position, just to kind of place them in order. There's a title in each pane, some content, and a corner. That corner is invisible. We can't currently see it on here right now, but it is there. If we hover over, it turns the cursor into a draggable cursor. So this is how we set this up. We have a style sheet with this as well. Fairly straightforward of what this is. We've got a Google font in here. We have some resets, some CSS variables for the colors, and then we just set things up as normal. We just position absolute things. We've got height and width. This is a grid for each one for the title and the content. And we have some titles and some H2s in here. Basically everything that we need to set this up. So basically these are just boxes, and then we're setting these boxes to overlay each other. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add a little bit of JavaScript to basically bring my windows or my panes to the fore. So if I click on doodle number 2, I'll actually have it come forwards. At the moment, if I click doodle 2, it's always behind doodle 3. How do we do this? We need a little bit of JavaScript to be able to do this. So let's add that in first of all. So at the moment in my HTML, I don't have any JavaScript in here whatsoever. So I'm just going to make one. I'm going to right click in VS Code, go to new file and do panes.js, because I've called these the panes. So let's call it something to do with that. And what I want to do is link this panes.js to my index.html. So the first thing I'm going to do is scroll to the bottom, and just before my body tag, add a little bit of space and add a script tag. What script? Well, we want a source equal to panes.js, or basically whatever you call that file. If I save now, then we can link these two together. So the first thing we need to do is get each individual pane, and then if we click on the pane, move it forwards. So first thing we're going to do is grab all of the panes. Each pane has a class of pane, of course, and what we need to do is pull that into our JavaScript. So on our panes.js, let's first of all select all of the panes. So const panes. This is going to be equal to, in our documents, basically the page, we want to find all the panes. So dot query selector all. And in brackets, we want to run this. What do we want to run? Well, we want to tell it what we're selecting. So in quotes, I'm going to do dot pane. So this is dot pane because we have a class called dot pane. Just like we do in the style sheet, if we have dot pane to change its height and change its display, here we're just doing the same thing. So the first thing we want to do is for each individual pane, if I click it, move it forwards. So I need to do a loop. So for every single pane, I want to do something. So let's select the panes and then do a dot. Dot means do something on this for each, capital E on each, and then we're going to run this. Now in here, what we put in is a function and says, well, for each one, what do we want to do? Well, we want to do something. So for each pane, we want to pick the pane, first of all, and then send it to a function. So this is a kind of arrow. We're using equals and a kind of angle bracket, and then we're using curly brackets to do something. We're going to open this up to make it a little bit easier to read. Well, what I want to do for each pane is if I click each individual pane, I want to do something on it. So let's add a bit of space. And then for each individual pane, so notice this is panes, plural, and this is a singular pane for each one. We're going to do something to each individual pane. So what do we want to do? We want to listen out for any clicks. So add an event listener. What do we want to do? Well, we want to do something. We're doing round brackets. We're going to do something on a click. Here, what we want to do is another function. So we're going to do a comma before we close that up, and then we're going to run a function here. So we're going to do some round brackets, and then an arrow, and then some curly brackets. This means do something when we click this. What do we want to do? Well, we want to move it forwards. How do we move things forwards? Well, if we did this in a style sheet, we'd move the z index forwards. We'd increase the number of the z index. At the moment, none of these numbers have a z index, so we'll just add one just quickly. So when we open this up, we're going to do pane.style dot z index, and let's just make it a big number for now. So let's make it equal to 1,000. Let's see if this works. So we're going to press save, and we're going to go back to our page. So now if I click and refresh, if I click on number 2, this brings it forwards. If I click on number 4, it then brings it forwards. But if I click on 2 again, it doesn't bring it forwards because both of them are the same number. And because 4 is further down in our HTML, that takes precedence to go over the top. So what we want to do is when we click on a number each time or a pane each time, we want to just keep increasing the number one by one. So to do this, we're going to make a variable that increases. So when we click 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, it just keeps going up. So back to our code, we're going to go all the way at the start where we've got this panes, plural. We're also going to say let z index is towards the camera. Let's start with this being 1, let's say. Now, if I click on this, I want to just increase every single time this z index. So it's not just 1,000, it's 1, then 2, then 3, then 4, then 5, all the way up to 1,000 or 10,000. So we're going to replace 1,000 with z. Z is equal to 1 at the moment, but we want to keep increasing this on click. So before I do this, I'm going to add something extra. On z, what I want to do is add 1 to it. So I'm going to make this equal to the current z value plus 1. So then it's 2, then 3, then 4, then 5, and it keeps increasing. So let's save that and see if this works. So back to our code, we're going to refresh. So we did 2, then 4, then 2, then 4, then 2, then 4, then 5, then 1, then 2. So what we see here is this number always increases. It's constantly getting closer to the camera each time. So we're getting this stacking effect very, very quickly. So now that we've got this stacking effect, wouldn't it be nice to click the title to move it around? At the moment, it just selects itself and it then eventually goes over the top. So next thing we're going to do is we'll make this move around. Now this is a little bit more JavaScript than what we've got currently, but we can kind of integrate it into the current code already. How do we do this? Well, I only want to do this on the title itself, not the whole thing. So first thing I'm going to do is just pick the title within each pane. And then when I click the title, I will drag it around. But there's more to it than just click and drag. So let's talk about this. So back in our code, what we want to do is for each pane, first of all, actually just pick the title. So I'm not going to do anything just yet. I'm just going to say within each pane, for each pane, I want to pick the title within each pane. So const title. This is going to be equal to in the pane itself, that each individual pane, we want to find a dot title. So we're going to do a query selector. Notice it is not query selector all, we only want one of them. So we're going to pick the first selector, there's just one, and in quotes, we're going to do dot title. So this is similar to if we do in a style sheet, dot pane, dot title with a space between. But what do we want to do on this? Well, when I move over the title, what I want to do is when I put my mouse down and start to drag the mouse, then let go of the mouse, this should update the position of this. So the first thing I need to do is listen for a mouse down. Now, what is the difference between a mouse down and a click? So what we can see is if I just save this right now, go back to here, if I put my mouse down on doodle number 1 or doodle 2, it will only do it until I click the mouse back up. I'll do it again, up. So down and up. But what I want to do is as soon as I put my mouse down, I actually want to say stack them in a different way or start to drag things around. So a click will only do it on mouse down and then up. So there's two kind of events in here. So what I'm just going to quickly change this code for the stacking to is not on click, but on the mouse down. As soon as I press my mouse down, I want this to change the stack order. So back in my code, we're just going to change this from a click to mouse down. Now these are built into JavaScript, they're just kind of default things. There's a list of things on the internet, all the different types of events. But now if I click my mouse down, it automatically does it. I'm still got my mouse down and I'm going to click up and it does the same thing. This feels a little bit more instant than a click. So we're going to use the same thing here. But now what we want to do this is on not the pane itself, but on the title. So what do we want to do? Well, on the title for each pane, we want to add an event listener. We'll use some round brackets to run this. We want to listen out for this mouse down event, mouse down. And then what we're going to do is run a function. We're going to do something, round brackets, an arrow, and some curly brackets. This means just do something right now. Now, let's just open this up and just add some more code in here. Now, what I could do just to make this a little bit clearer is say on the kind of final one, what we have in our style sheet is right at the bottom here, we have a dot is dragging. So I want the title to change color as soon as I put my mouse down on it. So let's just add that in very, very quickly. So title, add event listener. On the pane itself, let's add a class, dot, class, capital list. Let's add is dragging to that class list. So this is almost like if we go into HTML and add an actual class name to this. Let's save it and see if this works. Back in my code, I'm going to refresh. And if I click the title now, notice this has changed the stack order, but also changed the background color of this. Doesn't go away yet, which we'll fix, but we can see that as we click all of these, notice that I clicked here, but if I click the title, it will change color. So we've got some of the way to this, but what do we need? Well, how do we remove this? Well, one way would be to pick the title and do it on mouse up. We'll remove the class on mouse up. But what we want to kind of do in the long term is something a little bit different, which is kind of a bit of a weird one. And I'll talk about why. So the weird thing that we have is when we are dragging around, obviously the mouse could go outside of the title itself. So if I click down and drag over here really quickly, I still want this to move, but this might go outside of the box. So this might go outside of the title box, but I still want it to be within the entire page. So what I'm going to do is something a little bit stranger than usual. What do we want to do? So back in my code. In my code itself, what I want to do is when I've pressed the mouse down, what I want to do is then say, well, listen for the entire page. And when the entire page has a mouse up, then we can do something. Now, what we're going to do in here is two functions. So function one, we're going to add a constant in here. And this is when we move the mouse, drag. So here we're going to drag, and this is going to run something. We're going to run something that's a function. This is going to be equal to a round brackets, an arrow, and curly brackets. Now, I'm going to fill this in a little bit later, but it's just going to be here for now. Next thing I want to do is on mouse up. So here, I'm going to do another constant, mouse up. This is going to be equal to round brackets, arrow, curly brackets. This is just another function that we'll fill in a little bit later. But what I want to do is basically listen out for mouse up when we lift the mouse off the entire page. So how do we do this? Now we have a special word called document that we used earlier for anything on the page. So document dot add event listener. And in round brackets, what we're going to listen out for is a mouse up event. We've got mouse down, let's listen out for mouse up. Now what we did previously is we added a function in here. We have this pane, event listener, mouse down and mouse up, then we ran a function. But what I can do is because I've got a function here is I can just write the name of the function in instead, mouse up. Now this isn't going to do anything because this function here doesn't do anything. But what I could do is just add this for drag as well. So I'm going to add in above this document, add an event listener. Whenever we move the mouse, which is called a mouse move, all in lowercase, we want to run this drag function. There we go. Now currently these don't do anything. Drag doesn't do anything in these kind of curly brackets. Mouse up doesn't do anything in these curly brackets. If we save and we go back to the site, it still does what we had from before. If I click the title, it changes the color of the title bar. So what do we want to do? Well, on mouse up, we want to remove this class first of all. So let's add a bit of code into these curly brackets for mouse up. Pane.class list with a capital L, remove is dash dragging. So what we should get now is I've clicked it, and then when I mouse up on the entire page, then this will also remove this. So let's see what happens. If I refresh the page and I click down and then up, down, up, down, up, down, up, notice this changes that title. Now, the reason we've done this across the entire document, which is here and not on the title itself, is if I click down and then drag and then lift up, this will still work. So notice my mouse up event wasn't on the title. It was here. It started in the right place, but notice this isn't on the title anymore. And if I'm dragging around, this title will also be moving around fairly dramatically as well. So I've got this looking correct. But what we want to do is move this around, not just change the title. So back in our code, what do we want to do? Well, when I click down, what I want to do is hold on to where the mouse is, but also where the pane is as well. So let's pick those two things. How? Well, the first thing we're going to do is find the original left position and the top position of the pane. So let's L for left be the panes dot offset left. Offset left is just where it is relative to its box, its container, and we'll do a let t being it's equal to pane offset top. So this is just where it lives in space. These will be different per pane, obviously, because the panes are in different places. But what we also need is where the mouse starts as well, because if I click here versus here versus here, they're going to do different things if I drag them. So what we want to do is find out where we've clicked on the entire page. But at the moment, there isn't a way in this function to get that detail, but we can add it. So what we're going to pass into this entire function, all of these curly brackets from here to here, is I want to pass in some more information about this event listener. Now, what I want to pass in is the event itself, like what has just happened when you clicked mouse down. Well, it's a special kind of bit of information that gives you extra information beyond just run this function. So what we can get from here is the start X position and the start Y position. So I'm going to do another let start X equal to, from the event that we've just done, where did we just click? Event. We can get the page X from there. Page X is just an object, sorry, page is just an object with all of the information about what's happened. So we also want to get the Y as well. So start X and start Y is page X and page Y. Now, why is this useful? Well, what we want to do in our drag function is move this whole pane around. So let's add some space between these functions. Let's add the space between the curly brackets. And what we want to do is, well, what we want to do is move this pane around. So what we can do is similar to what we've got here, pane.style.zindex. We're going to change its pane.style.left and top position instead. So what we're going to do is do pane.style.left first of all, and this is going to be equal to the original position plus what? Well, for now, I'm just going to put in 100. Does this move around at all? Let's save it and see. So if I go back to my site and refresh and do this, nothing happens. Well, there's a few reasons why nothing happens. The first one is this is just a number. It doesn't really tell it any about the unit. Now, if I have any of these styles in here, I'll do something like 24px for pixels. So here what I'm going to do is put this in brackets and then add at the end of this plus px to give it some pixels. So save. Does this do anything now? Refresh. And notice each time when I click and try and drag, this moves an extra 100 pixels. So it's kind of doing, kind of almost like snapping to a grid almost, but it's not going exactly where the mouse is going. I'm going this way, it's going the other way. So what do we want to do instead of 100? Well, what we want to do is find out that event and see the difference between where we started, the mouse down event, and where we're dragging to. So in drag, I'm also going to put in an event here as well. What I want to do instead of 100 is, let's do it in round brackets, get the events page X, which is where I'm currently dragging to, and let's take away where I started from, start X. So this is where we started when we clicked down. This is now where we're moving to, and let's find the difference. So let's save this, and let's see if this works. So we're going to refresh. And now if I click on Doodle, this is moving around kind of what we expected. And again, this isn't going away if I'm letting go. And all of these are moving around, so there's a few errors, but we're kind of getting closer and closer to what we want. So at the moment, this should never let go. I've let go of my mouse, and this will still move. Let's just do this for the top position as well. So pane.style.top is equal to T for top, which is up here. Let's add it to event.page Y, and let's take away the difference from start to Y. And let's add a unit at the end, pixels. So if I save it now and go back and refresh, then I can click around. But this, if I let go of the mouse again, this is still following me around the page. I need to let go somehow, like this is too sticky. So what do I want to do? Well, back on my code, when I've clicked the mouse up, what I want to do is turn off these things. I want to turn off what I started here. So on mouse up, what we're going to do is we're going to add documents dot remove event listener, and we're going to say, well, what do we want to remove? Well, what we started with, mouse move. Let's remove the drag event, and let's also remove the mouse up event as well. Let's remove this listener, and let's do mouse up and mouse up. So basically, what we started with was this. When I click down, and as soon as I let go, I want to turn them off. So if I save it now and refresh, what we should get is if I drag around, we can see this looks as what we wanted. Now notice what you'll get occasionally is this kind of like highlight effect. And this is because usually what we're doing when we drag is we're trying to select things. I want to just turn that off. So what we can do just quickly is go back to my code. When I'm dragging, I don't want to do the default of dragging and doing text. I want to get that event and prevent the default thing from happening. The default thing is select text, so we don't want that. So let's save and refresh. And what we get now is this looking a little bit more natural. So this is how we get this movable titles. So very kind of straightforward to do, a little bit of JavaScript in here. So we also have corners on these as well. So if I click at the moment and try and drag the corner, nothing happens because there's nothing selected for the corner itself. So what do we want to do? Well, it's going to look like a very, very similar process whenever we drag things. We'll change what we're trying to do. Here we don't want to change its top and left position. We actually want to change its width and height instead. So this is going to look very, very similar, but there's some changes. First thing we need to do in our code is we want to select the corner. Now, if I look at my HTML, I've added this class of cornering. This is a very small in the corner thing, currently not very visible. I'm just going to make it visible just for a second so we can see it. Background color of red, just to see. There we go. That's the corner. Now I want to select that. And if I drag this, I want to not change this position, but I want to change its size. So how? What we're going to do in our panes.js is I'm going to select this corner unit first. So where we've got the title underneath, I'm going to pick the corner. This is going to be pane.query selector, and in round brackets and in quotes dot corner. Now this is just selecting the tag within the pane itself. So if I click on this one, this will select this one, but not all of them. If I click this one, it will click this one, but not all of them. Now what I want to do is something that's very similar to what we've got with our title add event listener. So I'm going to take all of this code. Notice I'm not taking this last little bit here, and that's because this is the whole loop itself. So I'm just going to take everything within this code here. I'm going to add some space and I'm going to paste it. Now here what I'm going to do is remove a few things and change a few things. So the first thing I'm going to do in the second one is not be on the title, but on the corner. I don't want to do this is dragging pane on this class list because that kind of looks a little bit weird. You know, if I click this and drag it, this doesn't highlight, it would kind of not make sense. So I'm actually going to get rid of this pane.classlist.add from here. And I'm also going to do it in mouse up as well, because it just doesn't look very good. So this clears it up a little bit. And what we can do now is pick certain things. Now for us, what we want to do is not do the left and the top. We actually want to do the width and height. So I'm going to change L and T to width, or W, and H for height. But it's not offset left and offset top. We're actually going to change this to client width and client height. Basically what this does is how big is this pane currently. Now when we got this drag in, we'll keep the same kind of effect here, but what we want to do is not change the pane style left and top. What we want to do is change its width and height. So here we're going to change its pane.style.width and its height. We're going to change this L to a W because that's kind of to do with width now, and the T to a H, and let's save it. So we've just saved this. Let's see if this works. So back on our site, I've refreshed, and now what I can do is drag this to be resizable, drag this to be movable, and what we can see here very, very quickly is we've got the same effect. So we're using the same code pretty much, except we're doing a different thing inside of the code. On the first code, what we did is we wanted to pick the left and top position and move that around, draggable. When we got resizable, what we're changing is the width and height. And all we're doing is the same effect. We're starting where we put the mouse down, where we move to, and finding the difference between those two. So what we can see very, very quickly is by using the same effect, we have this draggable and resizable and also stackable effect very, very quickly.